there, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here. As you know, our mission is to put the mainstream spotlight that Hall H has been known for back on the pop culture and comic book related artists, writers, and other creatives. Our other mission is to get as many of you fit and healthy so you can have the best convention experience you can possibly have, especially at the Big Kahuna San Diego Comic-Con, where I've easily walked 32 miles. That's right, we're talking about SDCCfit, and on this episode, my co-host Alex Benedicto and I are joined by Stephanie Shamblin Gray. She is a journalist at the website horrornewsnetwork.net, and she is also a very supportive member of the SDCCfit family online, going by Undead Stephanie on Twitter. Please enjoy our SDCCfit conversation with Stephanie and get your SDCCfit workout in today, because San Diego Comic-Con will be here before you know it. Hello, fellow nerds and geeks. Aaron Nabus here, and thank you for tuning in to the Hall H Show podcast. For many of you that have followed SDCCfit online, you know how important the SDCCfit movement has been for a lot of us to stay motivated to be fit for San Diego Comic-Con, and most importantly, for life. From Leonard Sultana and Alyssa Franks on various episodes of their Cup of Tea SDCC YouTube live hangout, to the Mighty Jerd, the Nerdophiles, and the Con Guy mentioning the movement in blog posts. Those of us that have decided to incorporate incremental changes to be a bit more healthy throughout the year have seen positive results in the marathon that is San Diego Comic-Con. For this episode, we are joined by my co-host, Alex Benedicto.
Hello there.
And a fellow SDCCfit fam, Stephanie Shamblin Gray, otherwise known as
Undead Stephanie, if you're following me on Twitter.
And she's helped to keep the movement alive. Stephanie is a journalist at comicmonsters.com and Horror Network. Network.com?
Horror News Network.
Oh, horrornewsnetwork.com, sorry. .net. And she gives me a run for my money in our weekly Fitbit challenges. Although lately, you know, she needs to get back on the Fitbit game. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. For this show, we are recording at Portola Coffee in the city of Tustin in Orange County, California. So please forgive the background noise. Coincidentally, we recorded our first Hall H Show podcast episode with Tony Kim, Crazy for Comic-Con, at this very location. I had originally asked a few other Orange County members of the SDCCfit fam to join us. Violet from GB Reviews, cosplayer Tony Armatis, and Jason Coe, a.k.a. Corgi Commander, but they weren't able to join us this time, so hopefully we can connect in the future. Corgi Commander is actually celebrating his birthday, so happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday to Corgi.
Yeah. This is going to be an SDCCfit specific show, and we'll be covering a few things. Goals we are trying to reach before San Diego Comic-Con this year, and also long-term goals, and more importantly, how we plan to achieve them. What kind of habits and daily routines do each of us use to keep on track? What a typical day is for us? What's some of our favorite exercises and physical activities are? What kind of shoes do we wear when we go for a walk or a run or when we're at a convention? What are some of our favorite reward meals? We'll also get to know a little bit about Stephanie and a little bit better, knowledge about what their fandoms are and their interests are. And we'll bring the thunder with the thunder round, our off-the-beaten-path set of questions, and then we'll end our conversation by finding out what conventions Stephanie is planning to be going to in 2017. And then we'll learn what SDCCfit means for her, and for us too. I guess goals we'll start with. What are some of the goals you're trying to reach for San Diego Comic-Con this year in terms of long-term goals, health goals, and more importantly, how are you planning on achieving them?
Yeah, well, for me, and I'm really glad that you've kind of taken up the mantle for doing the SDCCfit because I think it's such a great thing for people. You also mentioned that it is a marathon, and it absolutely is. People tend to forget that every year when they go. So people won't necessarily be active all year. And then here comes Comic-Con, and boy, you can tell when people have not planned for this. And by day 2, they look terrible. They're worn out. They're exhausted. So this is something that is seeing this happen to other people. I never want this to happen to me. So my goal is to not be tore up through the entire convention. So I try to stay pretty active all year. I've gotten to where I run several times a week, and running by my standards is not what it would be for somebody who's a marathon runner, but for me it does keep me active and it does keep me moving quite a bit. And so then when Comic-Con comes around, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for all the movement, and even a lot of times once I actually get to Comic-Con, I'll have one of the days, maybe Friday, where I go out for a run in the morning, nice and early.
I remember, I saw that you did that last year.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see the city before it gets too crazy down there with people, and just to get out and get your legs stretched and moving, because once you're standing in lines, it's much harder than just walking.
For sure.
It really helps keep the blood pumping and keep you moving a little bit. So my goal is to not be tore up through all of Comic-Con.
That's a good goal to have. How about you, Alex? Do you have any goals set for this Comic-Con in terms of SDCCfit?
Last year I kind of got a late start on the walking thing, so probably start right now and continue going until, just continue doing it even past Comic-Con. So
that's good.
just more consistent walking throughout the week.
Do you have any how far do you, or how many steps or how many miles do you think you want to walk each day, or what do you want to build up to?
Not too sure. I'm kind of lucky because if I do like one block around the block I walk at, it's probably about a mile. So it's a good measurement for me. So probably I'll start off with maybe first couple of days I'll do just do a mile at first, a mile or two, then just increment maybe each week, increase it from there.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Steph? What kind of benchmarks do you have throughout the year?
What kind of what?
What kind of benchmarks, or what kind of, I guess, is there like a per day mile total that you want to aim for, or?
I don't go for miles as much as I go for consistency.
Good point.
That is what is the most important to me, because I don't necessarily have as much time from day to day. So I make sure that I have at least 3 days a week where I have time that I go out and do something. And a lot of times it'll end up being in the afternoon or evening if something happened in the morning, and sometimes I'll just try to get an extra walk in later. But to me, it's consistency has really been more of the key than the actual mileage.
That's a good point.
Just based on time.
I hear
usually.
you. Yeah, for me, it's like my day is pretty, I guess, erratic sometimes. There's sometimes I'll have a pretty normal day. I'll get off like at 6 o'clock. Sometimes I'll get off at 10 o'clock. So it just depends. So what's worked for me in the past is trying to get maybe 30 minutes done in the morning, a cardio, like walking or being on the treadmill or do some elliptical machine. So if I can get to the habit of doing 30 minutes a day in the morning, before anything really, then that it's like what you alluded to with consistency being key. That gives me the consistency I need to make sure that at least I got that much done. So that's a very good point about consistency. And then that's what's going to lead me to habits, because since I was able to consistently do that, for, say a week or a month straight, no problem, then it kind of led to like other life changes, It's like it got me thinking about, okay, what else can I do? What other changes can I do? What other habits can I incorporate to improve my life, really? So it kind of stemmed off of like, getting that 30 minutes done in the morning. And it set off a chain reaction of me there's a thing in my head that goes, my life improved that much in that short a time. What else can I do to make my life even better? So that little thing, just doing the 30 minutes every morning, led to me thinking about, this stuff for the blog. What can I do? What can I get? What kind of systems can I put in place to get more consistent with social media posts here and there. What time of day am I most productive for that type of thing? So so it kind of led to like other things for me anyway.
Yeah, and you feel it too. Like if you don't do it, then you're fidgety almost.
Oh, right.
You
Right.
want to get out and do it again.
Yeah, for sure. I do feel bad if I don't get something done. So what's a typical day like for you, Stephanie?
A typical day,
A typical
just
day.
in general,
Yeah.
probably like most other people's. You hear the horror news journalist part, but I do have a day job also, and it starts early and ends late. So mostly it's sitting around in an office.
Right.
So that's why I try to get out in the morning and get some exercise first, and usually from there it's in sort of a business park where I'm able to get out and take walks
perfect.
too, and able
Yeah.
to move my legs, and which is great because a lot of people don't have that. They get stuck to their desk and can never move.
Mm-hmm.
So I am able to get out and get some walks and whatnot, and usually much less exercise now at night these days.
Oh, yeah.
But it is nice to be able to get it throughout the day. But yeah, like most people, I'm sitting at a desk most of the day.
In terms of besides walking and running, other types of exercises that you like to do?
Oh, very little. I have a gym membership that, boy, it gets wasted.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I use it. I'm lucky enough to live in a location where I've got great trails right by me.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm pretty much just out and enjoying that because that's the fresh air on top of getting the exercise has really been very helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps me clear my head, as well as getting some exercise. But any other exercises, we've got some different things, and a friend of mine started a burpees challenge.
Oh, right.
That's gonna,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that's gonna be like all the month of February. We're gonna try to write down how many we do, and the challenge starts at like 200 in the month, and I'm like, oh, that seems like a lot.
Wow.
I might try to do some. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the 200.
So
but
200 total for the month.
yeah,
Okay.
that's where they start,
Oh.
and then it's like a points thing,
Okay.
so it'll go up from there, and I think even 200 will be hard for me to hit. But
I guess you got to start somewhere. I mean,
you got to start somewhere, yeah.
I'm sure with the consistency,
Yes, I do a few of them, usually before I take off running in the morning just to get kind of warmed up, but
Right.
that's not going to add up to 200.
I sort of share I guess the Mighty Jared's philosophy when it comes to like exercises. I mean, on his, for those of you listening, you should check out his blog. He has this article called the post titled "How to Get Comic-Con Fit," and in there he says, when it comes to exercise, walking is something that you should concentrate on. I guess specifically for Comic-Con because it is a marathon, like we said earlier. But for me, and I guess for him too, you should incorporate some sort of resistance training, to help the muscles, as well. Because I guess, quote unquote, on the article that he wrote, he says, yeah, you can do cardio, but I guess if you end up doing cardio and that's it, they'll just be skinny fat.
I remember that. I remember him talking about skinny fat. And yeah, we have arms too.
Yeah.
So it is easy to forget that when you're just running and walking.
Yeah, but definitely get your walking in because I think that just, that pays dividends, in the long term for sure. And even when it comes to walking, like for me, I'm lucky enough to live near grocery stores. There's like 3 grocery stores within walking distance for me. The beach is like 3 miles away.
That's great.
Yeah, so I try to, like if I need to buy something from the grocery store, I don't drive, I walk. So if there's ways you can set it up, or if you're lucky enough to live in certain situations where you can walk to the grocery store, you should by all means walk. If it's safe also, do destination walking. There's a cafe near the beach I like to go to for coffee and pancakes for Sunday morning.
Or bike riding.
Yeah, for bike riding. Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people are really into their bikes. They've
Yeah.
got their Schwinn's in their garage, even if it's not a nice road bike or something. They've got a little Schwinn that they can ride down the street.
Right.
That's great exercise.
Yeah.
And usually a lot of places are within a couple miles that are easy for people to ride to.
For sure. How about you, Alex? Do you want to start incorporating anything else besides walking?
No, one thing I do is like when I'm watching TV
Uh-huh.
and commercial comes on,
Yeah.
I'll do like a set of push-ups.
Oh, there you go.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
That's smart. Yeah.
You know, that's like every 15 minutes
Yeah.
a commercial comes in, so
That's good.
it's a good way to.
I'm gonna start doing that too.
Yeah, that's a lot. You're doing a lot of push-ups then. Wow, what a commitment.
I guess that's one way not to watch the commercials, right?
Yeah, that too.
In terms of, I guess maybe you are what you eat, right?
So they say.
Yeah, so they say. And that's another thing I agree with Jared when he says, I mean, pretty much getting healthy is maybe 80% of what you eat, what you stuff in your, what do you say, in your cake hole. That's what he said in the article, anyway. And so being able to eat, I guess, good food on a regular basis, especially if you have a busy schedule, I think, really helps a lot because a good example would be me. The last couple of weeks, I really haven't had the best workouts. I've been so busy with work and with other freelance projects that luckily I was eating pretty cleanly. And we're doing this for those of you who follow the SDCCfit on Twitter. We're doing the No Gain SDCC challenge. So we're tracking our weight every Friday. For those of you who want to join, weigh yourself this Friday, and next Friday check your weight again. And the goal is to have no gain until San Diego Comic-Con. But my hope is that you actually try to strive for more. For me, I guess maybe we can go a little bit into goals a little bit after we talk about food. But in terms of food, I mean, there any type of foods that you try to stay away from, or what's like a typical, what are your typical meals in a regular day?
I might be a little different than other people because I have a lot of food allergies. So I'm one of those gluten-free people that
Okay.
doesn't have any gluten.
No, I'm glad we brought this up because this is I know nothing about being gluten-free or anything like that.
Oh,
So
it's actually getting very popular as a diet.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are using it as a diet, but a lot of people just can't have wheat, barley, or rye,
Oh,
and
okay.
that would be me.
Right.
And so I have to stay away from it for that. And that was something that came on later, so it's been only the last few years that I've sort of adjusted my diet for that.
Mm-hmm.
Same with egg. I can't have a lot of egg. And there's some other different things. So I have to sort of put my diet together on account of food restrictions. So I end up having, a lot of gluten-free things. I end up being really heavy in vegetables. I do eat meat,
Okay.
so I have that as well, which is something that works into my diet. A lot of people go just strictly vegetarian or something. And that's a great thing to do, if you can manage it and it works out for you. You mentioned about being busy and not having time to prepare meals. I've actually got a delivery service now that I'm using.
It's a Blue Apron or something like that.
Freshly
Freshly.
is the one that I get. And it comes, and they sort of look like microwave dinners, but they're refrigerated. So it's sort of like somebody made you some really great leftovers
Okay.
that you have.
How long have you been using it?
I've been using them for a few months now.
Okay. You like it?
And I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually really good. All of their stuff is automatically gluten-free, so that's
Oh.
good. I don't have to worry about that. And it's usually a meat and a vegetable. So if you didn't eat meat, you wouldn't like this service at all. But if you do eat meat, it's really nice, actually.
Well, luckily, my dad, he grew up a farmer. So I grew up with vegetables, and I love vegetables. So, I can be vegetarian for a week, no problem.
Yeah, veggies are great, and
Yeah.
I eat a lot of them, and I usually... That's the thing I find myself craving is vegetables. Like if I haven't had enough vegetables, I can tell, and I definitely go out trying to find them and looking for at different places, Indian food, or I'll go to somewhere where I know I can get something that's heavy in vegetables. So.
I guess by virtue of me cutting out, carbs a lot, I guess indirectly I've been a little bit gluten-free, I guess technically, for a little bit, because usually after the holidays I'll start cutting out the starches. I'll stick to like maybe like oatmeal or quinoa and spelt bread, or non-wheat bread. I guess there's bread that's non-wheat.
Well, they have gluten-free bread.
Yeah.
They'll make it out of your rice and potato and
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
like that, too.
So I guess for me, trying to watch, especially like unbleached wheats, products,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been looking for alternative, I guess, carb sources that are not the traditional processed, or not too highly processed anyway. So yeah. How about you, Alex? What kind of dietary changes are you going to make for the next few months?
Um, let's see. Probably, probably same thing. Less starches. I like vegetables, protein, so probably increase intake of that some more.
Yeah.
You would like Fresh Leaf.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I'm like promoting it. I'm going to end up getting something in the mail from them or something.
I think portion control helped a lot for me too, because I sort of like I had a 5-year goal starting in like 2014. My goal, I guess my goal was to eventually get back to my freshman college weight, in like 5 years. So that means losing maybe 10 pounds each year, So in 2000,
Very reasonable.
yeah. So 2014, it seemed to work out pretty good. I put in the effort, did a lot of walking, started watching what I ate. So 2014, and then 2015, San Diego Comic-Con, I was 10 pounds lighter, or 10 to 12 pounds lighter than what I was previously. And then last year, 2016, I kept what I lost off, and then I lost another additional 12 pounds. So I'm roughly 20. Last year I was roughly 24 pounds lighter than I was the previous year. So and then this year, I've managed to lose my goal is to lose another 10 pounds. So for this coming Comic-Con. So hopefully after that, by 2019 or so, I should have. Hopefully I'll reach my goal.
Good.
Yeah. So I think that's important. You try to break it up into little, chunkable parts that you can achieve, and if you have sort of a long-term goal in mind rather than short, quick fixes here and there. Because if you don't get that mindset where you're trying to sort of make lifestyle changes, and you're just looking for, Band-Aids, then I think in the long run, you'll have that yo-yo effect, I think, probably in the long run. And I don't think that's helpful for, long-term goals, Let's see here. What type of shoes do you prefer?
I can totally talk about shoes.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my shoes now. In
Oh,
fact,
sweet.
no one can see these, but
Is that Brooks?
they're Brooks.
Okay.
I am a huge fan of Brooks, and in particular, I like Ghosts. And every year, about a month before Comic-Con, as soon as the new version is released, I go out and I buy them.
Okay.
So every year I have fresh shoes that are a little bit broken in, but they've still got all that great padding on them. And yes, I can't recommend, first of all, having great shoes and breaking them in, but I can also recommend the Brooks and the Ghost. They're really nice shoes and really comfortable for standing and walking for days.
So about a month to break in shoes
What's that?
A month seems to be about a good time to break in shoes?
It's when they come out is when I get them.
Okay.
This year, actually, it was a little closer. I want to say it was only a couple weeks before, but it was fine because these shoes break in really fast. But for anybody that, if they're trying to get something that doesn't break in as quickly, I would say give it a month.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm wearing these Adidas.
Superstars.
Yeah, Superstars. They're presents from one of our clients at work.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it took a while for these to get broken in. And I don't usually wear Adidas because I have wide feet. So I usually have to get like the next size up just to wear them. So usually my preferred brand for shoes are like New Balance because they seem to carry like the wide sizes for me that I need.
Have you tried Brooks?
I'll look into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brooks is a good
'cause
shoe.
Yeah.
they're good for wide also.
Okay.
They're
And-
expensive.
Oh.
Fair warning to anyone. They're not the cheapest shoe you can buy. They're one of the most expensive.
I guess one thing I like New Balance because I can find shoes or models that are what I'm looking for at a reasonable price. So and they might be the older styles also, but it works for what I'm looking for. How about you, Alex?
I like all types of shoes. I used to work at an athletic shoe store, so
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's how you knew my
Yeah,
shoes from
I saw
glancing
the
at
emblem.
them. Okay.
yeah. So we had to take a class. We actually had to go to the corporate office and train on all the different companies' technologies on their shoes, from Nike Air to Brooks, New Balance. So they showed us, how the foot works and the different technologies in the shoes and what to look for and how to not just to get customer shoes, but how to fit a customer. So that's one important thing is, maybe go to a local running athletic shoe store, maybe specifically running, and they could really recommend a good shoe for you. Because they'll analyze your gait, things like that, some foot problems you might have that you don't know you have, and they could, like in San Diego, we have Roadrunner Sports, and they have pretty good customer service over there.
We have one here in Orange County also.
Yeah, that was a good company, good salespeople, and they could recommend a good shoe for you and a good fit for you too. So yeah, running shoes is probably the best bet because they have the most cushioning. Because I see a lot of people like with their Chuck Taylors or flip flops at Comic Con. It was like I feel sorry for you guys. So I recommend a running shoe. For conventions just because of the cushioning that it provides you.
I played a lot of rec basketball, and I developed these like plantar fasciitis on my feet. So like every so often it flares up, so I got to buy these special like inserts. So
insoles, orthotics.
Orthotics. So that's one thing to keep in mind also if you plan to do a lot of walking. I mean, if you do suffer pain, make sure you at least, buy something to help alleviate it. Don't just, don't just think you're a tough person or a tough guy and think you can just, withstand it.
No, you got to take care of your feet.
Yeah. So, okay, let's assume that we're putting in the time to get healthy. We've been doing our workouts and we're walking consistently. Obviously, we need a reward, right? So, I mean, what do you guys like to eat for your reward meals?
As a reward, I don't know that I am so good with rewards. I'm better with not getting too crazy with the sweets that I have usually.
Okay.
It's more for me. It's more like that as opposed to completely not having them. I moderate them and have less than I want to have, so that I'm not paying for that later. But yeah, for me, it wouldn't be a reward meal. I think it would be reward sweets. I think I have more of a sweet tooth.
So do you like say, okay, I've had a good week. I've been consistent. So like Sunday, I'm out with the hubby. This would be my day to get something sweet.
Or yeah, whenever I could pick something up. There's a bakery that does gluten-free.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the places I'll go and I'll get some things from there. So
what do you have like a favorite dessert from there? Do you have a favorite dessert there specifically?
Their cookies there are really good. I like the cookies.
What's the name of this place?
Sensitive Sweets.
Sensitive Sweets. What part of Orange County?
Fountain Valley.
Okay, Fountain Valley.
Yeah, it's actually very popular because it's for baked goods with gluten-free. It's not necessarily the best thing always.
Right.
Wheat actually is really good for baking stuff. So whenever you get away from the wheat, people struggle with it, and they've really got it down. So it is. For me, it's a real treat.
How about you, Alex? What's your reward meal?
Probably don't have really started yet. So, but one thing we usually do is like Korean barbecue.
We usually, after Comic-Con is over, we usually have one huge team Korean barbecue meal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to echo that. I think Korean barbecue is like my current go-to reward meal. But I guess we can't have that every week, though.
No, not every week, but probably every other month is probably maybe one every month or two we go.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess speaking about Korean food, I mean, I'm addicted to like kimchi right now, and like pickled vegetables. So even when I'm not out Korean food, I'll just go to a Korean supermarket, buy some of that stuff, and I guess for probiotics, for
yeah, that's what I hear too.
Yeah, for your stomach, it's good for you. Yeah. So let's get to know you a little bit better. I mean, what's obviously judging from where you work, you're into I guess the macabre.
Into horror.
Horror, yeah.
Yes, I am a huge horror fan.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, gosh. It's something that I've really enjoyed all of my life. And different times it'll be more or less, but the last probably 10 years, it's been more than anything. And I think I like just about everything horror. Movies, that's something that people watch quite a bit of. But then I got really into comics, which is how the whole Comic-Con thing got going, right? So once I started getting into comics and enjoying that more and more, that's when I started writing for a website and going to conventions and getting more involved with that. Because I didn't really see that with the movies as much. Like, once you're involved, you see it a little more, like with the festivals. But prior to that, it was just, something's playing on a Friday night, maybe I'll go see it. But comics actually has a little more involvement, which was great. It's much smaller than, superheroes and, a lot of the other things that you would expect to see in comics, but it definitely has a very dedicated crowd, and a lot of people really enjoy it. I also really like horror podcasts that people are doing, like the different stories, that people do, like the No Sleep podcast. There's a lot of different shows. I don't know. Have you guys heard of that one?
No.
There's a lot of them. It's just, it's like, it's not audiobooks, but it's people telling stories.
Yeah, okay. I think my cousin actually turned me on to one. I forgot the name of it. I'll have to dig it up and see ask if you've heard of it. But it seemed to be one of the popular ones, maybe that the younger generation's listening to.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of really great ones. But yeah, horror's been an interest of mine for a really long time.
So, what are your top 3 horror movies that you would recommend to somebody to watch as a primer to get into the genre?
Oh, you see, it's almost such a personal thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Evil Dead, the 3 Evil Dead movies, I'm not counting the new one. The original 3 will forever be
those were groundbreaking.
Favorites.
Yeah, those are groundbreaking.
I love them. And I love that they have the Ash versus Evil Dead show. In fact, I got to interview Bruce Campbell at the last Comic-Con, which to me, that was it. Right. That was the biggest thing that I am ever going to do at Comic-Con, was talking to Bruce Campbell, because that is my dude. That was really exciting for me. So as far as other people for, what I would suggest, classics almost. There's a lot of great stuff now, and things that really resonate with people, like The Babadook is a newer in the last couple of years that a lot of people really loved and a lot of people really hated. Same with It Follows. There's a lot of things that a lot of people love and a lot of people don't. But yeah, if you go back to the classics, Evil Dead, The Shining.
I think Halloween for me might be, that holds a lot of, memories, because me and my sister, when we were younger, my parents went off somewhere, shopping or whatever, and we turned off all the lights and we were watching Halloween. And we got freaked out of our head. It was so cool and fun at the same time.
Watching through your fingers so scared.
Yeah, so for me, the first Halloween will always hold a special memory for me. How about you, Alex? What are you into?
One thing I remember, I think I was a teenager, was when Friday the 13th, I think the 3D one came out.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually had a marathon. That was I think one of the first movie marathons I went to was Friday the 13th. They showed 1, 2, and then the third one at the end. That one is one I really remember.
I guess we can get into what we call the Thunder Round, is some of our off the beaten path questions.
Oh, okay. I'll prepare myself here.
What's in your Netflix queue, and what have you recently watched, and what are you planning to watch?
There is a lot of horror movies in my Netflix queue, as well as the new season of Elevator, which, if you guys know, the Soska sisters, they're writers, directors. They've done some acting, but mostly people know them as writers, directors. But they have kind of a game show that was done for the Game Show Network. And it's called Elevator, where they bring people in and they scare them, and you try to make it through and get money. And that's got its second season, so that's something that's in my queue that I intend to watch shortly. Black Mirror is another great show.
I've heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people like that one. That's a great show. And it has some horror elements. It's sort of Twilight Zone-ish, but that's a really great one. There's just so many things that are sitting in there right now. Those are the ones that are coming to mind because that's what I'm thinking about watching right now. But I've got a stack of movies that are sitting in there waiting to be watched also.
For sure. How about you, Alex? What's in your queue?
actually don't have anything. I don't even know what I have on key right now. Actually been I'm watching too many, probably more Amazon Prime stuff. So.
Oh, okay. What was on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime?
Oh, nothing. Let's see. The Man in High Castle.
Okay.
Was one.
Okay.
And what was the other one? I think I was trying to rewatch some Macross
Oh.
and Robotech.
Okay.
Trying to,
Oh, I see.
trying to watch, trying to compare both of them at the same time.
Oh.
So I'll watch episode 1 right after
I think
episode 1.
I think probably Macross, the first part, the first third, anyway, and Robotech should be about the same.
Uh-huh.
I think
That was real similar.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I guess for me and my Netflix queue, I recently watched Zootopia. I didn't get a chance to watch it until like now. Do you guys know who Greg Norman is? He's a famous Disney animator.
Oh, Floyd.
Sorry, That's Greg Norman. Floyd Norman. Sorry, Floyd. I said Greg Norman, the golfer. Floyd Norman. I watched his documentary. It was pretty cool. It's called, what was it called again?
I don't remember.
Okay. It was his
He had
documentary.
his name in it.
Yeah. And anyway, it was such an eye-opening documentary about his life and what he went through. And he's sort of like the bridge between Walt Disney and today's generation. So and just interesting enough, Alex and our other contributing photographer Dean show up in footage that they shot at San Diego Comic-Con, I believe in 2014. So if you guys want to watch two members of the Hall H team on Netflix, go check out the Floyd Norman documentary.
Yeah, I was lucky enough I think it was last year, 2 years ago at the San Diego Comic Fest. He was speaking at a panel about what it was like to work with, not just at Disney, but with Walt Disney. So he was lucky enough to share some stories about Walt and some of his coworkers, and like what kind of person he was, and you get how old Disney was back in the days, and designing some of the rides and some of the edifices that are at Disneyland. So it was pretty cool listening to those stories.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. Hopefully he's there again this year.
I think I saw that.
I think he's the head. Is he like a head guest or
I think so.
honorary guest
Yeah.
this year?
Yeah. So yeah.
It'd be good to hear, go to another panel of his again and hear some more stories that he has to share.
Yeah, especially with that San Diego Comic Fest, where it's such a more intimate environment.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I guess the next question, if NASA was going to launch another probe out into space, and you had a chance to place one item in there, what would it be and why?
What would I launch into outer space?
Yeah, I like a sort of one of those capsules that
Like a time capsule
yeah.
that it would just float around and eventually come back.
or in
I
hopes,
think I would put this podcast out there so people could know how into pop culture we all were at one time.
Yeah.
And fitness
Right,
as
right,
well
exactly.
as pop culture. Yeah, I think it would just have to be something like that. That's something that had more of a human element to it to show people what there was. And I think something with Comic-Con, I think, would very much show people what things were like at one time if they
For
got
sure.
this 100 years later. Because who knows what people are going to be interested in.
right.
Maybe it's everyone's sitting in their own little bubble and nobody interacts with anyone else. Nobody stands in lines with thousands of their
Right.
best friends
Yeah.
to go to something. You never know.
How about you, Alex? What would you put on the probe?
Let's see. I don't know. Maybe an old encyclopedia or something.
An old school set of encyclopedias.
Something they could look at pictures, read. I don't know if you won't be able to read it, but something tangible that they could hold in their hand, and,
Right.
It
and
could
almost
be-
like history book or something.
It could be that old, what was that old encyclopedia, like Man, Myth, and Magic or something,
Oh,
something
yeah.
crazy. So if somebody comes across it in 100 years, people are like, what were they doing back then?
I've been feeling kind of nostalgic lately. And when I was a kid, I used to play a lot of Street Fighter 2 in the arcades. So I think I'd want to actually stick a Street Fighter 2 arcade machine up in the time capsule.
I like it.
If you could have a meal with anyone dead or alive, maybe even fictional, who would that be, and where would you where would you eat?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to Bruce Campbell. Even though I got to talk to him, I would talk to him some more. He's definitely, like I said, really high up on my list of people of interest to me. He's a person he plays a character. If you're familiar with his Evil Dead character Ash, he almost has that same personality. He really kind of runs it through his whole life. Now, maybe personally, once he gets out of the public eye, he's probably very different, but if he's in front of people, he has this really snarky personality that's just fantastic. And I would definitely like to spend a little more time with him.
Yeah, he definitely sounds like an interesting cat, for sure.
But we would drink. We wouldn't eat.
Oh, okay.
We would go to a bar, I think. I wouldn't eat with him. I think I would go to a bar with him.
Cool. What type of establishment? Like a place that specializes in bourbon or whiskey, or just like a
Tequila.
tequila?
Yeah, we'll go to a tequila bar. How about that?
Loosen them up a little.
How about you, Alex?
I don't know. Maybe probably like a scientist. Maybe like Isaac Newton or something.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
I don't know where I'd take him. I don't know. Maybe
A tequila bar.
if I could travel back, maybe he could take me to one of his. I don't know what kind of restaurants he had back in the day, but something in that era.
For me, usually some of the people that I love are like martial artists. People like Bruce Lee. There's a guy that I don't know if you're familiar with Miyamoto Musashi. He's a Ronin samurai type back in the day. He wrote the Book of Five Rings. It was like a book that he wrote, and after he finished it, he died pretty much. But I mean, if you can picture, he would travel Japan and have these life and death struggles against other samurai, and he killed his first person at the age of 13. And you think, yeah, that's a brutal time to live, but at the same time, he had this artistic skill, like his water, like his paintings are pretty cool to look at. Like he'll paint like cranes and nature. He wrote poetry. He did this pretty cool little wooden statues. So he, that popular Western saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. He would say something to the effect, pen and sword in accord. So it's just like such a different mindset to have. Mm-hmm. And for me, just that juxtaposition of, yeah, this guy's a badass, but at the same time, he can be, both creative and contemplate the meaning of life, while at the same time being able to take it. I just find that a fascinating juxtaposition. And so, yeah, I think I'd say at this point, I find him pretty interesting, and he'd probably be the person that I'd want to have a meal with. Hopefully he doesn't chop my head off, but but he does seem like a pretty interesting person. And
yeah, you guys went deep on yours. Boy, I kept mine much more high level.
And I'd probably treat him like a hamburger, like maybe that's a good bird. Maybe smash burger. Simple hamburger, because he's probably a simple person, and I think a hamburger kind of expresses a lot of things. It's like a lot of layers, but it's pretty simple, a lot of flavor. So and it's straight to the point. You just simplicity at its best. Simple hamburger. You're at San Diego Comic-Con, standing in line for a panel, and you strike up a conversation with a random person that is looking for something new to read.
Something new?
Yeah, something new to read.
Okay.
If you had to recommend a book or series of books, yes, even comic books are books too, what book would you recommend and why?
There's so many. Again, it'll go back with horror probably, and it'll be whether or not they've read the original Walking Dead.
Ooh.
Because this is one of the things that got me into comics was Walking Dead. And there was a. Do you guys remember Attack of the Show? Did you guys watch that on
A little
G4?
bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw a little bit.
It's the station's not even there anymore, but they had a woman, Blair Butler, and she used to cover comics.
Okay.
And so she starts talking up this comic, Walking Dead, and she was so into it that me and my husband went to look into this comic book before either of us were even reading comics. And went and found this and loved it. Mm-hmm. And from there, just kept finding more and more things to enjoy. But as far as what else besides that to recommend, I almost at Comic-Con think that anybody would have been reading Walking Dead at this point. So anything beyond that makes it a little tougher to come across. As far as books, maybe, if I'm talking to a woman, I might recommend the Meredith Gentry books.
Okay.
And it's by a woman, Laurel K. Hamilton, and they're just really like fantasy type books, and they're just really fantastic. But I don't know that men would like it. It borders on romance as far as something that's like science fiction, fantasy could be.
Okay.
So
I guess if they've watched The Notebook and they like it, then maybe. Maybe if they watched The Notebook and they liked it.
Well, it's nothing like that. It's, with, gods and people are getting hurt and, there's as many terrible things, going on as there is romantic things.
Okay.
Because if it's appealing to me and I'm a huge fan of horror, there's got to be somebody that's a terrible torturer and something like that in there. But then there's all the good side of it, too, the people that are triumphing and getting it together.
Right.
It's a really interesting set of books.
Cool. How about you, Alex? What would you recommend to somebody?
Probably recommend something new. Probably second volume of Paper Girls just came out. So they have 10 issues right now. So they have Paper Girls is about girls. I think it was based in the 80s. They have a paper route, and I forgot. It was like then they run into some aliens. So it's kind of like Goonies meets Stranger Things.
Okay.
Oh.
So it was a really good mix.
Well, we you know how we were up in the podcast yesterday up in Encino. Mm-hmm. We went to a coffee shop, a comic book shop afterwards, and they're selling a couple of issues of Paper Girls, and they billed it as Stranger Things but better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I read the first few issues, and it's pretty cool. I was getting into it. So Paper Girls is something I would recommend.
I bet that starts taking off.
Yeah.
I guess for me, like I said earlier, I've been feeling pretty nostalgic. When I was a kid, I used to read a lot of Marvel comics, specifically Avengers, and I was opening a box that I haven't opened up in a long time, and I came across sort of like a few comic books that had a few of the Kree-Skrull War. I don't know if you remember that, Alex.
Kree-Skrull.
Yeah, the Kree-Skrull War back in, I guess, took place in late 70s. But it was the first time it kind of showcased, there's this intergalactic struggle going on, but at the same time, it shows the burgeoning, I guess, love between the Vision and Scarlet Witch. So I thought I was like, whoa, I remember this story. And I was like, that was the first time where I got hooked with the Avengers. And so I think for me, I'd probably want to give those and recommend those to somebody that I met randomly in line at Comic-Con.
Yeah, good timing for that, too, I think, because it's fresher. That character's fresher in people's minds.
Yeah. And, non-comic book based, I think yesterday at the podcast, I asked about, some... we were talking about favorite books and as well. And, I'm a huge fan of, Old Man in the Sea.
Of what?
Old Man in the Sea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, can I add another one to mine?
Sure.
Watership Down.
Oh, okay.
I just read Watership Down a couple of months ago, and I had always thought it was a children's story. It's not. I guess some kids read it, but it's more survival horror than it is a children's story. Have you read it? Have you read Watership Down?
I've heard of it though.
It's the book with bunnies, and you think it's going to be all nice, and it's not. It's really intense. It's action at the very least, but it immediately went to my favorite book ever.
Well,
so
I'll
I'd
check that
give
out.
it high marks.
Maybe I'll add it to my audiobook list.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You should.
Speaking of audiobooks, I mean, do you read a lot of? Do you listen to a lot of audiobooks?
The podcasts.
Okay.
That's what I usually do.
Okay.
It's not usually the audiobooks, but it's podcasts, and that's when I'm in my car. If
Okay.
it's not music,
I
then
guess
it is
we'll
one of those.
yeah, we'll go into a little bit about podcasts and audiobooks a little bit later, just to finish up our conversation. If you just won $20 million from a lottery.
All right.
What are the first 3 things you buy and why?
The first 3 things.
Yeah.
First, I would buy a really nice vacation.
Uh-huh.
So,
Where would you go?
the Mediterranean,
Ah,
like a cruise.
okay.
Rome. I really want to spend some time in Rome.
Okay.
So that would be my first place that I would go to. Yeah, it's hard to think past the vacation. I think I'm pretty stuck on that. I like my car. I like my house. I'm not sure what else I would buy. I think it would be more vacations.
Uh-huh. That's
Buy
good.
myself more time off.
Right. I guess it's good.
That's what I
It's
think I would buy.
It's good life, personal experiences. It's all about the experiences, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I do okay on stuff. So it's more time, and it's more having the ability to get out and do some things that I want to do, like
Right.
travel,
Yeah.
which is always challenging.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Alex? What would you do with the first 3 things with $20 million?
Maybe I'd buy some land so I could build a custom home.
Okay.
That'd be pretty cool. Little bit away from the city, little getaway, little house. Probably a house for my family if they want a house too.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be-
Hey, what would you like me to buy you?
Yeah,
There,
exactly.
easy.
And third, I don't know. Third one, yeah, probably a vacation. I like to go to some of the world wonders like Giza or Great Wall of China, things like that, Machu Picchu, some of those not natural wonders, but man-made wonders. Would be pretty nice.
For me, since I watched, you ever watched the Jiro Dreams of Sushi on Netflix? It's a documentary about this sushi chef in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He has this three Michelin star restaurant in a subway station, serving probably the best sushi in the world.
Really?
Yeah, this old man, and he's starting to pass things down to his son, but he still has control over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm sure the list to get into this restaurant is probably long. It's probably take 10 years for me to get in. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably exaggerating.
Buy yourself in.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be
So
your-
I think that'd be one of them, to go to that restaurant. The next one would be, I think, I'd buy a house for my family, older, and like Alex said, travel. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to see in this world as well. I mean, just simple things like going to Japan and just chilling in a hot spring
With snow monkeys.
with the monkey.
Yeah.
In the dead of winter. I just I don't know. I haven't even been to the Grand Canyon yet. Just traveling all over the place. I guess, traveling. I mean, there's so many things you can just experience and reflect upon and just have a different perspective on life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think traveling is definitely up there. I guess, what's one thing about yourself that our listeners would be surprised to know about?
That people would be surprised to know.
Yeah.
That I'm actually going to admit to. Well, I didn't mention my day job. I'm an engineer.
Uh-huh.
So, because it's so much, I'm talking about the other side, the journalism part. I guess the surprising part would be that I work as an engineer by day.
How about you, Alex? What would people be surprised to know about you?
I don't know. Never really thought about that one. I gotta think about that one.
I guess
Yeah, these are tough questions.
Yeah,
The
these are
thunder
good.
round here.
I guess for me, I guess people when they, first get to know me, they think, when I wear at a karaoke bar, I'll be singing Radiohead or U2, and they'll think that I'm into rock and Audio Slave and Soundgarden. But yeah, I love that music. But people will be surprised to learn that, I'm a huge Rick Springfield fan. So I guess back in the day, my mom, when I was younger, I used to watch General Hospital, and he was on there. And then, so I got hooked on General Hospital. So I guess that's another thing people will be surprised to know is that I grew up watching General Hospital.
You said Rick Springfield,
Yeah, Rick
right?
Springfield, yeah.
Did you see him on Supernatural recently?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I know he played Satan or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, cool.
You should check
Yeah,
it
he
out.
plays awesome little, characters like that. And then I remember when I was a kid, I was watching Battlestar Galactica, and he played Apollo's brother that died. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the brother that died in the beginning.
Huh.
I think his name was Zach. I
Good
believe.
memory. I
Yeah.
don't remember that.
Yeah, so I remember it. I remember Rich People was in Battlestar Galactica. So that's what got me into Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, you got to watch Supernatural then, just so you can see him. He really did a good job.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and unbeknownst to the general public, he might be the biggest collector of Star Wars
Really?
paraphernalia. Yeah, he has a huge collection, even like rare stuff. Yeah, look it up online. Like Rick Springfield, he got interviewed by I forgot who interviewed him, maybe Entertainment Tonight or something like that. But yeah, he has this huge collection of Star Wars stuff.
How funny.
It's pretty crazy. I guess, what conventions are you planning to go to this year?
San Diego Comic-Con, of course.
Of course.
And WonderCon.
Uh-huh.
I will definitely be at WonderCon. That's even more local for me than San Diego, and I've enjoyed it every year that it's been here. I'm really glad that they've got it down here from Northern California now. I don't think they've ever made it back up there since they've come down here.
Yeah.
And it's been mostly in Orange County, but it has been in LA. It was in LA last year, which I didn't like as much. I definitely prefer it over in Anaheim.
For sure.
I think the whole setup there is really good for them with the arena, how they have it, and with the whole outdoor area for the food trucks and for everyone to come out and enjoy the weather and take their pictures. And it's a really good atmosphere.
Right.
It's just a really nice convention. It's much more laid back and really good vibes at that convention.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of our favorite conventions to go
it was a
to.
good one last year.
I think Alex likes to say, yeah, it's like San Diego Comic-Con 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. So it's so crowded, but not as crazy as what Comic-Con is now.
Yeah.
How about, which cons are we planning to go to this year?
See, San Diego Comic Fest is coming up in around 3 weeks or so.
Right.
There's Silicon Valley. Trying to go up there again.
Oh, you guys going to go to that one
Yeah,
again?
we went one day last year just because it was the first one.
Yeah, it was
they
the
had,
first one last year,
Yeah,
right?
they had to work out some logistics stuff, but I think they'll do well. I think they'll do okay on that.
Good.
The crowds were there, but just the logistics, a lot of people had problems solved. But I was talking to artists, and they said it was good shows for them.
Good.
Yeah, so I guess business was good for the artists, but I think they'll work out the logistics parts of it because I think they're going to get some adjoining facilities to expand for more panels and just to ease up the crowd a little bit. So that should be good. See what else? Probably Long Beach Expo or Long Beach Comic Con. Probably go back to those again also. Yeah. What else is there?
Designer Con?
Designer Con, especially Designer Con. It's real good. It's always that one's always going. So it's more like one big giant Artist Alley. So that's always a good one
That's
to go
probably
to.
the con for us because we like to focus and put the spotlight on artists, writers, and other creatives.
Okay.
So just having the ability to talk to as many artists as possible at a convention, can be, tough. Even especially at San Diego Comic Con, because we don't want to get in the way of them trying to, sell their prints or their artwork. But at Designer Con, it just seems like they have a culture of like, oh yeah, come talk to us. I'll tell you about my art and let's get to know each other. So
That's great.
yeah, so that type of environment, it kind of gives us an opportunity to get a lot of the artists that we follow on social media, for a chance for us to get to know them a little bit better on a personal level. So if there's any con that anybody wants to go to, to check out for the first time, I think Designer Con up in Pasadena is a good one to go to. I think another one that we might try to go to is the one in Arizona.
Arizona, Phoenix Comic Con.
Yeah, Phoenix Comic
Oh,
Con.
yeah, I
probably.
heard that one. I heard that one's a good one
Yeah,
too.
we'll see if we can get to that one. And I mean, we wish we had the time and resources to get up to New York Comic Con.
Yeah. I would like to go to that one
Yeah,
also.
for sure. And also maybe Emerald City up in Seattle.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool to check out too.
C2E2 in Chicago would be a nice one.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yeah, with New York Comic Con, more of our staff is East Coast. It's Connecticut-based, actually. Horror News Network. Everybody's out on the East Coast.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
the
yeah.
only West Coast representative, so they're always at New York.
Okay.
So that would be really fun for me to be able to make it out for that one and be able to hang out with everybody from the website there.
Okay. Well, I guess this could be a good opportunity for you to maybe talk a little about the website that you write for.
For Horror
Yeah.
News Network,
Yeah,
to plug it a little
yeah,
more.
let's plug 'em.
Yeah, it's horrornewsnetwork.net,
Uh-huh.
and that's the umbrella site. And then comicmonsters.com is actually under that site. It was the original, and it was just horror comics, but once we started expanding a little bit, we realized we needed to change the name. So it's actually got a couple of the different domains there, but either one of them gets you into the main site. So.
And how many people are on your team?
Oh, it varies, but I think there's usually around 10, I'm
wow.
going to say that we have.
Okay. Cool. And how long have you guys been around?
How long what?
How long has the website been around?
Oh, Comic Monsters has been, I'm going to say 15 years.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while.
Okay.
And Horror News Network has been, gosh, when did we start it as Horror News Network? Maybe 7? And I've been there about 9 when it was just Comic Monsters. But they had already been up and running for some time
Okay.
by the time I joined them. But I've
Nice.
been there since it's been Horror News Network. I just don't remember the exact year it switched. I'm going to say it was about 7
Okay.
years ago that we made it Horror News Network.
Cool. Well, we'll definitely put links to the website on the show notes.
Yeah, they're going to be mad that anybody that hears it, how can you not know exactly the day? I don't remember the exact day.
And I was looking online actually earlier and checking out the website. I guess your husband works there too, right?
Yes, he does it too. And you don't see as much from him because he does more photos.
Okay.
He takes fantastic pictures. We don't even have that good of a camera, and his pictures are absolutely amazing. He just really has a gift and really just has the eye for taking pictures.
And it's funny you mentioned that because there's a photographer that I follow. His name is Chase Jarvis. And his thing is the best, I think it goes something like this. The best camera to have is the one that you're shooting with. I guess on a consistent basis. So, it really doesn't matter too much technically, just as long as you're out there shooting. And, I guess technology is not really a replacement for actually skill and talent and, the work you put into it.
Yeah, we just always laugh because at Comic-Con you come up to these people and they've got these huge rigs. They've got so much on their camera, and we walk up with this tiny little camera or a phone.
Right, exactly.
And he'll get at least as good of pictures, which is just amazing because he just really has the eye
That's
for how to
awesome.
get a really nice picture.
That's
So
good.
that's more what you see him doing. He'll contribute occasionally, but he's more filming and taking pictures.
So in terms of, I guess, the projects and maybe articles that you're writing coming up next, what kind of articles do you have in the pipeline?
It's Women in Horror Month in February, so this is something that's going to get exciting for us. We're going to have articles for that. I have an interview that I'll be putting together today that I've got sitting there that I'm just waiting to compile.
Cool.
And we've got a few different women
Okay.
we're looking at. One of them with comics. We're going to look at some women that do more putting conventions together.
Oh, nice.
Something that a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot of women that are doing this, and you don't see them. You see the convention, you don't know that it's a woman that's running it and putting it all together. So we're going to do a little highlighting of that. So we've got some things like this coming up. So that's one of the things that you'll be seeing in February on our website.
Cool. I guess we'll start wrapping it up, but I guess before we finish, since I guess our podcast was specifically on SDCCfit, I guess we can go into maybe what's one tip that you can give to all our fellow geeks and nerds out there on how to get more SDCCfit.
Consistency.
Right.
Start now and just keep doing it, and you will be so much happier in July if you just start your exercises now and just keep doing it and get a little bit every day if that's all you've got time for, but just keep doing it, and that'll be the key for helping you feel good in July.
How about you, Alex? Do you have any tips for somebody who's trying to get started on being SDCC fit?
Yeah, consistency is a big thing because, I'd go like a week or 8-9 days and then kind of ease off a little bit. And then it takes a while to get back ramping things up again. But maybe just actually writing down your goals too. Maybe go to like the 99-cent store, get a whiteboard and dry erase pen and paper and write down your goals. So because once you see it, in front of you, it's more likely you will,
The reminder,
actual
reminder.
push you a little bit. Sometimes it's, motivation too is hard. So if you see that, on your desk or on your bedside every morning, every day, it'll just help you get going.
You know what else? I'm going to give another tip too, to follow SDCCfit.
You stole my tip. my next tip, my tip was going to be accountability, and I was going to say, sometimes it's hard to do things by yourself, and you need a good support group like SDCCfit to help motivate you and help keep you on track. And speaking from personal experience, it's helped me tremendously, and it's always cool, you sort of connect online, and then you actually meet them in person at a convention, which is even better. Which is, I remember when we were at Tony Ken's Game of Bloggers last year, when we first met Stephanie, and that was pretty cool. We, hung out, got some drinks, and we saw some other SDCC Fit people all throughout the convention, even randomly, like the current editor-in-chief of the Friends of CEC Forum and the blog, Kevin Walwyn. I was just walking across the street from the parking garage, and he heard me because I think I was like maybe talking on my phone. He turned around after I was done talking and said, "Hey, are you Aaron from SDC's Fit?" I said, "Yeah, Kevin." So it's like we recognize each other. And then another time, me and Alex were. Which hotel was that? It was like we were having lunch that one time.
Let's see.
The Hilton.
Hilton, I think it was a Hilton.
Okay, we were having lunch at the lobby area or something like that, and somebody had...
Oh, it was a Marriott.
Marriott, okay. Somebody had just already gone down the escalator, and she had seen us eating, right? And then she came back up to introduce herself. It was Meg Worrell. She's on Twitter as well, and she recognized me from the SDCC Fit, and so it's like we got to meet her, and she just... Well, it was sweet of her to come back up and say hi. So, just little instances like that sort of just, it's like the icing on the cake, just makes it so much even better. Just, I'm so happy that, I didn't start this. I think it goes back a couple years. But, I definitely am proud to be part of it, So...
I think it's really helpful, and it really motivates a lot of people, and it keeps them motivated.
For sure.
And that's big, just that you have other people on Twitter, and there's, I think it was Norm, he goes by the Norm.
Yeah.
And he had, a couple months ago, did a shout out, help, I have no motivation.
Right.
I think that started the holiday challenge,
exactly.
the no gain challenge. So just little things like that we're able to reach out to each other and keep each other going. It really has a really nice community feel to it, that everybody's really trying to just better each other while bettering themselves.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And so I guess we'll end it there. And I guess besides the websites, where else can people find you online?
At Undead Stephanie is my Twitter.
Ah, that's right.
And that's where most people are going to come across anything that I'm doing.
Okay, cool. And you can find us hall.h.com on all the social media, and also SDCCfit. And make sure you go check it out. And if you're having trouble, getting started, reach out to us and we'll help you along. So peace, cheers, and start getting SDCC fit, because San Diego Comic-Con will be here before you know it.
Yep.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Hall H Show. We appreciate you very much, and if you have any comments or recommendations for potential guests, please reach out to us on social media using the hashtag HallHShow. Peace, cheers, and see you next time. And it's never too late to join your fellow nerds and geeks on this SDCCfit movement, where we can help each other be consistent and accountable. Find us online using the hashtag SDCCfit.